Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel Tintle and I am the owner and designer behind the Creative Siren. Now I'm really excited to be back here this week, though unfortunately I do not have a cup tutorial for you. I have more of a technical tutorial. I've been asked a couple of times if there are various ways to color clay aside from just painting it after it's baked, and the answer is yes. So today I thought I'd go through 5 different ways that you can color your clay. This is paramount right now, especially during the pandemic. There is a shortage of clay. I don't know if any of you have noticed. You can find beige, you can find gray, and you can find white, and that's pretty much about it. As far as the colors go, those are hard to come by. So why not just learn to make them yourself? These guys are they're all pretty simple to do. I have my favorite. I'm sure you will too once going through the list, but I guess without further ado, let's just jump right in. First stop on our world tour of colors is soft pastels. Now, I love to use these Mica soft pastels. They're beautiful, they're vibrant, and you get like a whole freaking rainbow when you buy this box. You'll want to use them with a soft bristled brush if you're going for more of like an airbrushed look. But look at how pretty these are. Like, I really love them. They're all out of order because I accidentally dropped them. So I just wasn't gonna put them all back in. But what's really cool about soft pastels is you can use them one of 2 ways. You can use your soft bristled brush and use them as like a highlight or a shading, like I'm going to show you right here. And it like really gives it this really nice airbrush look. Now I'm using just a white piece of clay just so it really shows up so you see it. And look at how pretty that is. Like, it's perfect if you're wanting to add like rosy cheeks to a sculpture or some highlights or some low lights. Some good shadowing. This is the way you're going to want to go. You can also take your soft pastels and scrape them with your hobby knife right into your clay, just a little bit at a time, and mix that in. Now, because I'm using a white, it's not really going to show up super vibrantly, but it'll still give off like a really pretty pastel pink. If I wanted something that was a little bit more vibrant, I'd use more of like a translucent clay because that's where you're really going to hold your color. And just knead it in there really good. It might fight you a little bit because for some reason when you're mixing dry ingredients into the clay, it doesn't want to mix all the way. But once you get it in there, it gives off this really pretty color. But soft pastels are a really easy way to add color without a lot of the mess of some of the other ways that I'm going to show you tonight. And that's pretty much it for soft pastels. Next up is crayon. Now, believe it or not, you can actually color your clay with crayon. I just stole this from my daughter's crayon box, so it's just your basic everyday crayon. There's nothing too special about it. And what you're going to want to do with this is you're going to want to cut off just tiny slivers. You can either scrape it with your hobby tool. I didn't feel comfortable with it, so I'm just chopping off the ends here. And you're going to want to make them as fine and as thin as possible. You don't want very large chunks. So after I've cut it off from the crayon, I like to go in like almost chef style and chop up all the little pieces, to be about as small or as fine as I possibly can get them. Now, the thing to know about using crayon is that it will not all mix into the clay 100%. You are going to have chunks, but I think that it kind of gives it a really cool texture. This would be great if you just want something to have that really awesome speckled look, though I do suggest that you wipe down your polymer clay piece immediately after pulling it out of the oven, so you don't get melted crayon everywhere because it does melt in the oven. So I'm just going to take my translucent clay here and I'm just going to roll it into my crayon bits. It seems to be like the easiest way to pick up all of those bits, just roll it right into it. And then just knead it really, really well. And you'll start to notice it change. Since I'm using a blue crayon, it'll change into this really pretty blue color with these deep navy specks. Which, like I said, I just think that it's a really cool effect. I had originally read about it. I had never tried this before. And as soon as I read about it, I was really excited to show the rest of you. Just because I really liked how it turned out. But like I said, don't forget to just wipe down whatever it is that you're baking. If you happen to be using the crayon here, just wipe it down really quick with a paper towel, like as soon as you pull it out of the oven, before the crayon has time to like solidify, and that way it comes out looking a lot cleaner and you're just left with the specks and not just melted crayon everywhere. Ultimately, I just really adore this technique, and I really hope that you guys do too. This was such an awesome find. Like I said, I didn't even know that you could do this, that you could color clay with crayons, but I'm really glad that I found it. And I hope that you guys love it just as much as I do. And that's pretty much how you color clay with crayon. Next up is mica powder. Now, I've seen a few people ask me about mixing mica powders, and yes, you can definitely use mica powders to mix in and color your clay. So here I'm using Pearl X. It's done by the same people that make the Pinata alcohol inks, so it is a very vibrant mica. So I do like these kinds. I do like another kind by Simply Sarah, but I'll show you what to do with that in just a second. So here, as you can see, it's got this really bright blue pearlescent color, and you're going to want to take your translucent clay again to really maintain those vibrant colors, and something to scoop the micas with. Now I have just this waxing tool that I use for my clay. It happens to have like a flat end to it, so it makes it easier to scoop out the micas. So that's what I'm going to be using, but realistically you can use whatever you need to scoop out that mica. So you're going to want to form your clay into like a little bowl almost, and then you'll put just a tiny bit of the mica right in the middle of that bowl. And once you get your desired amount in there, go ahead and start kneading it really thoroughly into your clay. Just like with the soft pastels, your mica is gonna kind of want to fight you on mixing with the polymer clay, so it'll get a little flaky, but that's completely normal. Just keep working it. Now micas are really cool because they do give off a good vibrant color for cheap. You can use anything that has mica in it, so eyeshadows are another good alternative for micas if you don't happen to have a good mica on hand. Just remember that you're going to have to use more eyeshadow than you would regular mica, because eyeshadow does have chalk in it, and so it's going to dilute that color just a bit. So as you'll notice here, the color is coming in really well, but you do lose a little bit of that pearlescent sheen that you would normally have with mica. It's the only downside I think about this technique. Otherwise, you do still maintain a really vibrant color, which is neat, without all the mess of paint or alcohol inks. So of course, if you want to bring back a little bit of that shine, you can take a soft bristled brush and just brush some of that mica back on top after you've mixed that color, and so it'll blend in really, really well. As you can see here, that shine is really pretty. And like I told you before, I really like Simply Sarah's micas. This happens to be her Vanishing Lilac, which mixes with this blue just like gorgeously. And you just brush it on top. Look at that. It's like this like pearlescent, iridescent, which, you know, if you know me, you know that I'm a sucker for anything iridescent. And so that's pretty much working with micas and clay. You can mix it in, or you can spread it on top, or do a little bit of both. Either way, it's just a beautiful, gorgeous, flawless color. All right, next up is acrylic paints. Now, a lot of people don't know that you actually can mix acrylic paints into a white or translucent clay and color it. But always use gloves because this is a messy, messy process. It's gonna get everywhere. So first, I always need my clay. You guys know this, just so that it's soft, it's pliable, it's easier to work with. And then you're gonna use just like a pea-sized bit of these acrylic paints. Acrylic paints are good because less is more definitely here. And you'll get a really bright color with just a little bit of clay. So like with the micas, I'm just turning the clay into like a bowl, and that's where I'm gonna put my paint, just right in the middle of that bowl, and then I'll fold it over and start kneading it. You really don't need very much. So the biggest downside about using acrylic paint is that it is water-based. So because of that fact, you are not going to be able to mix this color and immediately use it. With the other two techniques that I showed you, that's totally the case. You can mix that color, you can throw it straight into the oven without issue. But with acrylic paints, you have to leave it out for about a week to allow the water within the acrylic paints to evaporate completely. The other downside about this is that because it does have water, it tends to make the clay like harder to knead. It almost feels dry, and not brittle, but like flaky, crumbly. So you can add just like one tiny little drop of baby oil to soften that up. But the important part is allowing this to dry to 3 to 5 days. Do not cover it up while it's drying, and you'll want to knead it a couple of times a day during that dry time. You'll be able to tell that it still has water in it by feeling it. If it's cold to the touch, then it still has water because water naturally is cold. And that's pretty much how you add acrylic paints to translucent clay. Last but not least is my favorite way to color polymer clay, alcohol inks. So I like to use Pinata alcohol inks because they tend to be a lot more vibrant and a lot more concentrated in color than the other alcohol inks that I've used. And again, you're definitely going to want to use gloves for this because this is way messier than the acrylic paint. And I'm using a translucent clay here because I really want that color to show up. Just as I said before, if you plan on using white clay, you definitely can color it just like I'm doing here, but just know that it's going to be more of a pastel color. Because of it being white, it will never truly be a vibrant, deep color. So if you're looking for that, you definitely need a semi-translucent, like I have here. Now, you're going to want to be careful doing this because alcohol ink tends to kind of spray everywhere, and you'll see that because I totally do spray it everywhere. But just like with all the other colors that I was showing you, you're going to want to form a bowl with your polymer clay and drop about anywhere between like 4 to 6 drops of alcohol ink in the middle of your little bowl. And then just fold it over and then just start mixing. It's better to do it slow than quick because it does squirt. Please don't be like me and wear like a white shirt while doing this because that's just a disaster. If you can, wear clothes you don't care about or wear an apron. It'll splatter. No matter how many times I've done this, I always get one instance where it just like shoots everywhere. Just like with the alcohol inks, you are going to want to allow this to dry. You will not be able to throw this straight into the oven after coloring it. But the plus side is that it doesn't need to dry as long as acrylic paints. About anywhere between 3 and 5 hours, and all that alcohol, that moisture that's within that clay will evaporate and go away, and then you can use it. So within that same day. So what I would suggest is just like sit down and like bulk color a bunch of clay and then just leave it for a couple of hours uncovered, and make sure you knead it, anywhere between every half an hour to an hour, just to make sure that all of that alcohol, gets thoroughly evaporated. You don't want to get cracks or any other issues with your clay just because there's still alcohol or any kind of moisture within your clay. But that's essentially it. I mean, this is by far for me the easiest way to do it. Plus, it saves your hands, I feel, because the alcohol within the alcohol ink actually softens your clay. So it makes it really easy to knead. I mean, it's just like a really, really soft clay. Of course, as the alcohol evaporates, it'll harden up a little bit, just like regular clay. I just find it to be a lot easier on the hands. The colors are a lot more vibrant. And, you know, within a few short hours, you can use it, no problem. And that's 5 different ways to color clay. So just to summarize real quick, we went over how to color clay with alcohol ink, acrylic paint, mica powders, a crayon, and finally soft pastels. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and found it really informative. Please let me know which one of these techniques was your favorite in the comments below. If you loved this video, be sure to click here to see our last video. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another tutorial. See you later. Bye!